your life. This is a free virtual event. I'm your host, Quincy Harris. These brothers you see on the screen right now, trust me, are about to give you guys not only remedies, but like things that they've actually went through. You know what I mean? Shout out to Jeremy Anderson. Jeremy put this whole thing together. Jeremy, we appreciate everything that you're doing, in the community. E.T. the hip hop preacher, Sean Stevenson. This is great. And listen, I know y'all like, where Inky at? Inky's here. Okay, we got Inky in the VIP room. He is here. He's in the VIP room. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get to him in a second, but I'm just so excited to be here with you fellas. A lot has happened in the last 2 to 3 years, right? Like if you went through, let's say 2019 December to right now, and you're the same person, I don't know what world you were living in. This has been something that has tried everyone's faith, tried everyone's patience. It's been a transformational time, and a lot of people are struggling in this time. And Jeremy called us and said, hey, we want to do something where we know people are suffering silently, and we want to be able to help. So we're gonna go to E.T. the hip hop preacher first, because again, like I said, we have we got brother Inky in the VIP room. But E, a lot of people see you. We've seen you, go to a different stratosphere in the last 10 years. We've seen your kids grow up in the last 10 years. We've seen a bunch of things happen in your life publicly in the last 10 years. And, we've talked about it privately, but let's just go to your wife, right? We've talked about Dee Dee. If you listen to ET, we've heard, you talk about your wife, in so many different facets of speaking and putting it out there in the public. But let's go back to the time where your wife, you're there, you're finding out that your wife has MS. And again, you're flying high, things are happening for you. And how did you cope? How did you overcome just, some of the things that, were battling and, trying in your life?
You know what? And I'm going to answer this, in two ways, but I'm going to let Sean, you know what I'm saying? We're going to let Sean, speak to more, maybe the chemical, side of scientific side of it. Right. So I'm not trying to pretend like, I'm a doctor and I know everything, but I will say this, that a lot of my friends or people that I'm close to who suffer from depression or, mental anxieties, like it was an event that happened. I remember being in college, bro. I ain't never know that my man was suffering with this, or I didn't know she was suffering with that. And then somebody might lose a child, and then all of a sudden you start seeing certain, things play out. So for me, I'm gonna be honest. I truly believe that there are events that happen in our life that are stressors. And it doesn't mean that the stress ain't real. It doesn't mean that what happened isn't real. And I know all my brothers, can agree with me. Some people call it a serious emotional experience. And so these are the times that if you're not careful, it can break you, bro. I'm just being real. And so when Dee Dee was diagnosed with MS, and she said this earlier, I wish she was here, but one of the things that I felt like I needed to do was I felt like it's easier to cope with bad news. Dee Dee said, I'm giving you Dee Dee's words. Dee Dee said it's easier to cope with bad news when somebody's coping with you. You feel me? So Dee Dee was like, yo, to be able to get the news that I got and having you next to me was critical. So one of the things I want us to do is I want us to think about people in our immediate circle, whether it be family or friends, who are capable of handling a situation with us. Now, Dee Dee said this, and it blew my mind, QDZ. Dee Dee said that while it was beneficial for me to be in the room, that if she had her way, like many people, they would rather get this type of news alone. I don't know if that makes sense, Q. Wow. But what my wife what she was saying was like, yo, I didn't want to spring this on you in our marriage during this time frame, if that makes sense. She was just like, yo, you was killing the game. Your career was, what I'm saying? Like, kid, son was in college. Jada was like junior. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was like, I felt bad that this happened. So I kind of wanted to do the news by myself, but I was grateful that you was in the building. So I'm talking to somebody Like we have a tendency as humans when it's bad news to say we alone. But a lot of times it's not that we're alone. It's just that we don't want to share that type of information with people. It could be embarrassing. It could be I'm putting too much on you. It could be, how did this happen to me? It could be a lot of stuff, right? And so Didi was like, yo, it was super helpful to have you in the building with me. It was super helpful to have you going to my sessions with me, whether it be MRI, whether it be the eye exam, whether it be whatever, all of them, whatever it was. She was like, yo, when I actually met with my neurologist, like to physically have you sitting there with me, and being present with me, and having somebody to talk to. She was just like, yo, that took so I'm saying to those of us who are struggling, as well as those of us who are, I don't want to call you a caregiver. That might be, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's an appropriate term, but for those of you who are caring for a person who is depressed, what I want to be careful with my terms, I want you to understand something. It's better not to be alone. And I'm not going to answer this question. You might ask me this later, but from a recycle standpoint, y'all know I'm from Michigan. We recycle bottles. You know what I'm saying? So like we live in the recycle, like we've been doing this since forever. And I had to recycle when I was homeless and I was going through my go-through. A lot of what I was experiencing was I was in those abandoned buildings by myself. I was walking the streets of Detroit alone. I didn't have to do that. I made the choice to do it alone. So I'm saying my wife was like, yo, having somebody there was super important. And I know at some point we're going to put this up so people can see it, but I want to take a look at it because I don't want to miss, all the stuff she said. So there was two other points she made. The other one she made was, be self-aware. Your loved ones deserve the best version of you, right? So she said, you not only do you need to try as much as you can to do what you need to do to fight so that it's like 100, but she also said that the person who's the caregiver needs to make sure that they're taking care of themselves. So what I did was, and Jeremy up on it, I've had a prayer line of men that I've been talking to for over 20 years now, every morning. So I was getting on the phone, talking to my boys about my wife's MS and what we were going through and getting charged by them and then going to her charged. You feel me? So I wasn't like.
So you had a community. You had a community.
I did, bro. I had a community. And you know what? This may be too much for some people, but I just got to keep it 100. I will never forget my boys asking me like, yo, E, how, is the intimacy? And E, how is the traveling? Like, you got to go by yourself. Didi going with, like, they were literally asking me questions like, all right, if you're struggling in these areas, like, let's talk it through. Let's talk about it. You feel me? Because to be honest with you, Q, it wasn't about me during that beginning stages. Like Didi was going through what she was going through. So it wasn't about take care of my needs. It was about, taking care of her needs. And so I had my community. I had my group I was going to, talking to, getting pumped up, getting encouraged. And I'm talking about, Jeremy will tell you, 5:30 in the morning. So by the time Didi get up at 8, I'm charged, bruh. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. So I want to be careful because sometimes the caregivers take the heat. They don't, because you know what I'm saying? They're not taking care of themselves because they call themselves taking care of the person that's depressed and going through it. And so they with somebody, in a dark room maybe, or dark conversations, and they're in there 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours with this person on the phone for hours. And like you taking the hit too. Like you're in that environment and you taking that in. And then the final things Didi said was, which I think is the biggest one, be understanding, bro. When somebody is going through it and they're having some anxiety, some stress, and I'm not talking about clinical. I'm not a doctor. You know what I'm saying? I don't play one on TV. So I'm not talking about clinical, but I am talking about, and I'm sure Sean's going to speak to this, I'm talking about those of us who have a stressful situation in our lives and we focus so much on the negative, or we focus so much on that pressure that pressure breaks us. and puts us on the dark side. You feel me? I was talking to somebody today and they were like, yo, man, pray for me. I got a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. I was like, what's going on? I got this big project at work. And if it don't work out, I said, if it don't work out, you're still going to be alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it don't work out, bro, you're going to be good. Like, as long as you got breath in your nostrils, like if the company don't go the way you want it to go, or it don't work out, or you don't make the money, you just figure out the next way how to do it better. But they were literally stressed. Q, they called me like with anxiety, and I was like, "Whoa, relax. That's an idea you have. That's a business you have. Do what you can, and if you can't find people to help you, eventually just keep going." And one day, but I felt the tension and the stress that I've heard from my friends when we were in our 20s or in our 30s. They get married, they have kids, they lose their job, things don't work out, and then, bruh, all I know is my boy is in a state of depression. All I know is, my boy, and I know he don't mind me sharing, Linton, his daughter went through like 20 surgeries and they messed his daughter up. And bro, he literally went through a state of depression. And it was all about, I didn't protect my daughter. How did I let these doctors do this to my daughter? And it was like, bro, you didn't let them do nothing to your daughter. Like, you took your daughter to a doctor, they practiced, you know what I'm saying? Like, one of the they made it, bro, she's doing phenomenal now. She killing the game now. But he went through maybe a year or two of depression because he put something on himself that really it wasn't his fault. And so, again, just to repeat, number one, bro, don't do it alone. It's a lie. You are not alone. There are people that love you and care for you. Somebody in your family. They're professionals that went to school for this. You know what I'm saying? Number two, be aware. Be aware of how this is affecting you. Be aware of what are some of the strategies and the tools you can use to get through this. Like, be aware, and then finally be understanding, bro. You know what I'm saying? People want to feel heard, valued, loved. You know what I'm saying? Understood. I'm just being real. So my wife was like, don't always try to fix the problem. You know what I'm saying? My wife is like, sometimes just sit down and shut up. Like, don't try to be Superman. Sometimes I just need you to sit here, listen to me, don't have a solution, let me talk, listen, just hold my hand, just hug me, just walk with me through the mall. If I'm in the car and I'm thinking about this MS and what it's doing to me, just sit in the car with me while I'm talking about it. Be quiet, show me you listening, give me your attention. You know what I'm saying? Let's get some fresh air. Let's go for a walk, whatever. So that last one is important, man. Like, you gotta make sure that you understand and you walk with them. So I saw the piece up there for myself, and when I was, homeless and going through my depression. But I'm gonna answer that question, give it to somebody else, bro. But yeah, for me, when Didi got sick, I knew that it could go in the negative, and she could be in a spirit of a funk and depression, or it could go, yo, we can handle this. We can get through this. And Winston Churchill said it. My favorite quote, never let a good crisis go to waste. And Didi and I found a way to get marital bliss. We found a way to create programming. We found a way to spend more time together. I call it date night. When she got to do her MRI twice a year, or she got to go to the neurologist, that's date night. You know what I'm saying? When she got to go see the eye doctor, when she got to go get some other stuff done that she probably don't want me to talk about, that's date night. You know what I'm saying? So now we got 8 date nights built in with all this medical stuff she got to go through, and when she has to give herself back in the day when she used to do a shot, I would be right there when she would do that shot. So we took something that was meant to be a tragedy, and we found a way together to get on the other side. It's still what it is. It's still MS. It's still a chronic illness. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it 100. But we found a way to bring something great out of something that was meant to be grave.
Got it. Listen, we're going to keep you here for a second. I know we have Inky Johnson in the VIP room, but Jeremy, let's go to you, bro. Like, why are we here? What was the urge or the sense of urgency for us to be here and do this free event?
Yeah. So first off, man, appreciate you, QDZ, for coming on, man, and as a host, and shout out to E and Sean and Inky. So me and E, we're talking probably about 2 weeks ago, and we were just talking early one morning just about all the different challenges in the world, and different things that people were facing and struggling with. And so, I just kind of felt in the spirit. I hit Inky because we had a similar conversation, and was just like, yo, what does it look like if we all came together, got with Sean, you know what I'm saying, and we just had a night of hope, a night of love and inspiration where we can kind of help people that's in that dark place, that's in that despair, that's in the funk, that feels stuck, and really show them, how to fight for their life. It's funny because when we was kind of praying about different themes, I text the homies like 4 different topics. They was like, the fight for your life, the fight for your life, because we realized we are all in the fight for our lives. And so that's why, we wanted to do this collectively. It was just the idea. I was like, yo, what y'all think about this? They was just like, yo, let's do it. It makes sense. It was no back and forth. It was plain as day, just to add value and be a blessing, because people really are struggling on the inside, but on the outside, they making it seem like everything is cool. And Quincy, bro, man, I almost crashed personally probably 3 weeks ago. I didn't realize I was running on fumes. You ever, it's almost like driving a car. It's like you can mash it 100 miles per hour and it's gonna run until that sucker is empty and it starts putting. It's not like you go 90 and then you go 80 for 10 minutes and then you go 70 for 10 minutes and then you get 60 miles per hour for 5 minutes. It doesn't happen. It's like you're mashing and then all of a sudden put. And I was like, oh my. And bro, I went and got a hotel room, got a little suite downtown, just 36 hours just by myself. I didn't talk to nobody except for my wife, and we only talked for like 10 minutes. Went and got me a massage, had some time with God, watched a couple movies, and just had a mental break, bro, before I crashed and got caught up on some stupid stuff. And then I realized the weight of it. I got a close relative that had another suicide attempt. Like, this thing is heavy, and everybody's getting hit with it in different angles. And so I feel like we're all in the fight for our life. And so that's why we wanted to come together and just give you all some tangible things that we can all do.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations. I didn't know you did that, but congrats, bro. That's that's phenomenal that you took action like that. I hope everybody listening.
And E, if I can be honest, it felt weird. Like, as I was leaving the house, I was just like, because I'm the guy that sends my wife away. You know what I'm saying? Like, when my wife girls got their little spot, you know what I'm saying? We got an extra bedroom. So if she want to have a girls' night out, you spend the weekend with your girls, boo. You already got your own bedroom and suite. Like, I'm that type of husband. I'm making sure everybody's straight. But I realized, like, man, I gotta make sure I'm straight. And E, you checking in. How's your heart? Big Shan checking in. Yo, Jay, how's your heart? I'm like, bro, I'm good. Had no clue. Internally, I was on E. I'm waking up early in the morning, seeking the face of God. But then sometimes that thing just hits you, and it's just like, wow. And when I say I don't want to get caught up on some dumb stuff, like, dumb stuff for everybody can be different. You know what I'm saying? Like, the word says, who the sun sets free is free indeed. I ain't touched the blunt. I ain't touched the bottle. I ain't touched the cigarette. I ain't been on pornography for 12 years. But it only take one chance, you feel me, for me to spiral. And so when I realized, like, whoa, I feel internally almost empty, I said, let me retreat and recalibrate so that I can be strong for my family and for others. And so now I'm even taking my mental health, my self-care more serious, because I realize, it's too much at stake, because I'm in the fight for my life too. And so that's what this is all about. I just realized, and I feel like right when E was hitting me, that's right when I was dealing something with a close family member, and I was seeing what happened with Miss America, you know what I'm saying, who jumped off the building in New York, and I heard about somebody else I knew, and I'm like, yo, folks are checking out. People are tired. People are in dark places. People want to quit and give up. So I said, we can come together and give some tangible tips and talk that talk. We can give them what they need to fight for their life.
Yeah, listen, strong. Sean, man, you are Mr. Health, #1 health podcast, in the US.
That's a fact.
Great selling books, Eat Smarter, Sleep Smarter. What is I know you have some data about, like, just mental health issues, substance abuse issues, because a lot of people may think they're dealing with this by themselves and they're the only ones going through this.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest part of this conversation for me is the collateral damage of all that's taking place. And, if you're in this field and doing work like I'm doing, and I just also want everybody to know where I'm from. Prior to moving here to Los Angeles recently, I lived in Ferguson, Missouri. That's where I went to school from. That's where I live my life. So I grew up in an environment that was just riddled with a lot of abuse, with a lot of obstacles, with, this quote, food desert mentality. But, one of the big takeaways from today is going to be no matter where you are, because it was in that environment that I became this person. So I just want to start by saying that, preface that. But, the collateral damage that's taking place, and I'm just going to throw out a couple of statistics because people are hurting. And sometimes we can even be in our little bubble. But also, we're going to talk about solutions today. So one of the big overlooked aspects of what's taking place in our world right now, just this past year in 2021 and 2020, each year it got worse. We had the highest number of overdose deaths ever recorded in modern human history. To compare it to 2015, for example, we had about 50,000 people die from an overdose. In 2021, it was over 100,000 people died from an overdose. Predominantly now, and also, again, part of my story, growing up in these very volatile environments, my stepfather, the man who raised me, he's in a group home right now because of crack cocaine and the brain damage that it did to him. But crack has kind of evolved into something else right now. Now it's opioids, and specifically fentanyl. And fentanyl right now, most people have no idea about this. And you need to know this stuff, even for your children, even if they're not out trying to do this stuff, because it's being laced into so many different things. But fentanyl is the number 1 cause of death in the United States for people between the age of 18 and 45. All right, so these are, quote, prime of life years. People think that it's the vid, or they think it's heart disease, or whatever the case might be. We're talking overall for people in their prime of life. Fentanyl, a specific drug, is the number 1 cause of death. Now, that should be jarring. As a matter of fact, if you add up the number of deaths from 2020 and 2021, from COVID and heart disease combined, the number of people who died from fentanyl in those same years is thousands more than that. All right, so this is the big issue that people are not talking about. People are hurting mentally and physically, because in that opioid category, a lot of people get hooked because they're trying to deal with pain, physical pain, but they're highly addictive. And again, like I mentioned, it's getting laced into so many different products. And I just want everybody to be aware of that. It is a major issue, but you're not seeing the headlines about this. And there's a reason behind that, and I'm always going to keep it 100. Drug companies fund major network media. All right. The very drug companies that are putting opioids out on the street. So of course, there's not going to be a lot of stories about how prescription opioids are killing people, but it's real. All right. So now, with that said, just one other little part, because we got to shine a light on the darkness, so we're aware of what we're dealing with. We can't just be punching, at the what is that movie, Baby Boy? Like Tyrese's character. We can't come back punching on the wall. No, that was Boys in the Hood, Cuba Gooding Jr. We can't come punch in the air. All right, we got to know what we're actually dealing with here. So also alcohol consumption. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to that, and even some people hanging out with us right now, maybe you notice you're sipping a little more than usual. But alcohol consumption has skyrocketed. But also, so has deaths related to alcohol consumption have shot up as well. So again, we're dealing with a mighty issue. We're dealing with a big issue around our mental health. And that's the collateral damage that I started off talking about. Because if you are aware of any aspect of health and wellness right now at a high level, you can see this coming from a mile away. Because humans, we require community in order to thrive. Our DNA literally affects us to connect with other human beings. And so even the term social distancing is dangerous. We could have even said physical distancing. We should never socially distance. We need each other. Without each other, we're lost. That's like the greatest fear in or part of our DNA through our evolution is to be outcast from the tribe. That's worse than death. And so the last thing I want to share before I pass the mic back is, what does that actually do to our biology? Let's keep this on a very tangible level. So every thought that we have, every single one of us, every single thought that we have creates correlating chemistry in our bodies. So we're here to talk about fighting for our lives. We're here to talk about taking control of our mental and physical well-being. It starts with your thoughts. Of course, you're not going to see a lot of stories about how prescription opioids. Getting a little feedback. Okay. So, for example, we might have a thought that is, of anger and pissosity. We get really upset. We're going to change that chemical cascade in our bodies But here's the rub. Every single one of these, this cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters that we create, it's designed specifically for your cells. It's not bioidentical drugs. These are drugs made for you. The most powerful pharmacy in the world is inside of the human body. All right, tailor-made for you. So when you're having thoughts of anxiety and depression, you're creating a cascading chemical soup in your body that is changing your state instantaneously. And the thing is, so many of us are outsourcing our ability to control our state to the world around us. And this time right now in human history is giving us an opportunity to take back control of our minds, to take control of our ability to feel how we want to feel. And again, so this is the last part. What I could see coming a mile away, the CDC did a massive meta-analysis. They looked at over 540,000 COVID-19 patients from over 800 US hospitals. And they found that the number one risk factor from dying from this condition that's been on everybody's mind the past 2 years, the number one risk factor is obesity. Now we know that. We're not doing anything about it, but we know it. But the second leading risk factor for death from COVID was anxiety and fear-related disorders. Anxiety and fear-related disorders is the second leading, most repetitive, most dominant risk factor for somebody dying from this condition. And the question should be how? How can my mind affect my body so mightily? Your mind, psychoneuroimmunology, is controlling your immune system. This is yet another reason for us to take control. And so, like I mentioned, we've got these wonderful, we're talking about the best of the best in the world here to talk about what we can do to actually take back control of our mind. And I've definitely got some things to share with you guys today as well. But I just wanted to start with what's the situation, on the front lines, what are we really dealing with, so we can start to build from there.
Can I speak to that real quick? Because you brought up two real important things, QDZ. I want to just touch on something because my ADD, I mess around and forget. Sean said community, like the way that we're wired as humans, we've got to connect. If we really pay close attention to what ET said earlier, he said that when he was trying to be there for Dee and he was trying to be the caregiver and look out, he had to make sure that he was good. And what he did to get filled up is he would come to the prayer line, like he had that space. And so for everybody, it might be different. So I want to just, and I'm curious, Sean and QDZ, like what y'all's thoughts are as far as this is concerned. But it's like it's two levels to community. It's one thing to be around people. So we want to kill the whole social distancing. Maybe we should have called it, you're right, physical distancing, but we should definitely connect with one another. And it's one thing to show up at the barbershop. It's one thing to be at the salon or the go hoop or go play ball and kick it. It's one thing to be with them. But then having the real raw conversations, because what he didn't say was, when Didi was dealing with her stuff, I went to the prayer line and just chopped it up with the homies. He was like, no, I came to them. I talked about the situation. I was open. I was transparent. I was vulnerable. I let them know what I was struggling with. And then they gave me some game and they gave me some insight. They gave me some inspiration, some motivation. They filled me up and now I'm able to come back. And so I feel like it's probably two steps. And I'm curious your thoughts, Sean. It's probably two steps. That first step is, all right, let me not isolate myself in my pain. Let me get around my friends, my families, my cousins, my network. But then when I'm around them and I'm in that safe space, let me also be vulnerable and open. Here we go. Let me be tough. Let me be strong, right? Let me be assertive and let them know, hey, I'm dealing with some things. And I feel like that's probably a struggle that a lot of men and women have because we live in a world, and QDs, we talked about this, right? Social media. Everybody seems like everybody's like it's popping. But I feel like there's something special and very significant about finding that safe space and not just connect with others, but then to also share, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Social media, of course, is people's highlights. It's the highlights of people's lives. It's not real everyday things that everybody deals with. It's a kind of a really twisted version of reality. But the thing is, people are coming into it not being aware of that, especially our children. So they're seeing these stories, they're seeing these examples of what their life is supposed to be like, their relationship's supposed to be like, their body is supposed to be like. And they're creating this false sense of, we had it like keeping up with the Joneses, now it's like keeping up with the Kardashians, and we have this false sense of what success looks like and ideology. And so we're outsourcing our potential and our thinking to people that first of all, we're not even evolved or designed to know that many people, you know? So you might share something on social media. You got 1,000 people saying some shit. You're not supposed to get feedback from 1,000 people ever. Like, we didn't evolve like that, you know? So you shouldn't care what 5,000 people think. We're supposed to, you know, again, we evolved in tribes, you know? And of course, our consciousness, our awareness can expand, and we could definitely, you know, reach out and interact with more people, but we're just not hardwired for that. So this is another reason we can get so much anxiety and depression. If you see when social media really kicked off and our engagement with our technology, you could see the correlation with a jump, an exponential increase in anxiety and stress disorders. It's not an accident, you know? So to answer that question, so those two parts. So number one, absolutely. Environment is everything, you know, and many of our friends and colleagues have alluded to this very thing, but the people that we're around inherently influence us. The environment that we're in inherently influences us. But the thing about humans is we're not just a product of our environment, we're also creators of our environment. If we become aware of it, we can create an environment that is just feeding our spirit. It's going to be very difficult for you to be unhealthy being around me, period. You're just going to do healthy shit hanging out with me. That's just what's going to happen. We're not going to be hanging out and be like, you know what? Let's go get that, you know, they got 2 for 99 cents at Taco Bell or whatever, at Jack in the Box. I'm trying to feel some stomach disruption. You know, it's just not going to happen, you know? And so number one, the environment is radically important, but here's the other part of that. It's engaging intentionally with that environment. So you might have good people in your life, but you're in that device, or your mind is somewhere else and getting pulled, your attention is getting distorted, you know? So we have to practice presence. So we have a culture in my house. This isn't around. When we're all together, this isn't even around because the desire, the connectivity is already there. We've already got this neural association. It's like a slot machine in your pocket, you know? And I know everybody's experiences. You just do the just check. You just check your phone real quick. Next thing you know, you're on an app. You didn't even go there for that, you know? Next thing you know, you scrolling. You got pulled into the matrix, you know? And
Listen,
so practicing presence, for sure.
No, you know, because I had a question for you. Inky is here. Let's Inky Johnson is here. Thank you, Inky, for we seen you in the VIP room. But Sean, you said something about you know, your mentality or in your mental. How can we train our mental? What are some daily activities or exercises that you do to strengthen your mental to kind of create the life that you want?
You know, in our space, so many people talk about their routines, right? Their morning routine, their success ritual. If everybody can just take away this one nugget today of giving themselves some time of clarity without getting on their phone first thing in the morning. If we're talking about having a better relationship and not having that device intercepting your goals, give yourself, for some people, they literally got to put their phone in the car. They got to keep it out in the car when they go to bed at night. All right. But if you're getting up and the first thing you do, and you've got goals and aspirations, and the first thing you do is jump into your inbox or check your DMs, now everybody else's priorities have taken precedent over yours. So give yourself an opportunity to not be on that phone first thing in the morning. Don't even give it the opportunity. You know, put it somewhere, keep it in the bathroom, whatever. If you're using it as an alarm clock, that's your excuse. It's my alarm clock. Get an alarm clock. They still out there. You can just get yourself a regular old school alarm clock. All right. If you know that that's the degree of, you know, it has its hooks in you. So that's one thing for sure. And did I lose you guys? Am I still here?
Oh, no, you're here.
You're right here.
We got you.
Okay. Got it. All right. So this second thing. So being able to take back control of some of your mental space. This is so important, and one of the biggest things and things I'm grateful to be here to talk about today. Your mental health is directly tied to your physical health. They're one and the same. Even to say that there's a separation it's bordering on insanity because they're existing within the same entity. You know, it's all you. And so they feed into each other. When you're working to improve your physical health, your mental health just by default is going to dramatically improve. And we've got study after study after study demonstrating the effectiveness of moving our body, of various forms of exercise, being equal, if not more effective than conventional antidepressants like Zoloft, for example, which there was a shortage of Zoloft, by the way, during the pandemic, multiple times, right? People was trying to get their pills. They're trying to get their, to help them to supplant all the additional stress. But the way that our system is structured, our physicians, as brilliant as they might be, they're not prescribing exercise. They might give some superficial stuff, you really should lose weight, cut your fat, whatever. But they're not trained in that. I noticed I went pre-med. Most of my friends and colleagues, I know all the guys, Harvard, Stanford, they're listening to me. This isn't just made up. But the thing is, the simplicity, it's so simple. Your body is your DNA. We talked about this. Your genes expect you to have community. Your genes expect you to move. We are the most sedentary culture in the history of humanity. We found creative ways, and these things were very smart. We found all kinds of creative ways to do less, and our bodies have suffered. So as our lives would have been, using our bodies to procure our food, to get our shelter, whatever the case might be. Today, everything can be outsourced, and that's beautiful. So then we use the gym to try to kind of create a simulation of a fitness environment, and that's wonderful. But here's a big tip for everybody. Stanford University researchers did a really great study to find out if simply going for a short walk could have an effect on your cognitive well-being, specifically problem solving, which is something we need right now. And they found that going for a short 10-minute walk created a 60% increase in something called divergent thinking in the brain. So this was the ability of the brain to think of other possibilities and options to solving a problem that weren't present before. Because when we're working away, pounding away on a problem, trying to figure something out, we tend to get tunnel vision. When the truth is, it's a will. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's 10,000 ways. But because we're
Sean,
so
from here
attached to
on
the
out,
thing,
we're doing all of our staff meetings on the track field from here on out.
Let's go.
That's so good.
Let's go. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. But the last little nugget here is just, again, a short 10-minute walk, 60% increase in creative divergent thinking. So helping you to be able to problem solve and to find solutions for the things that we're struggling with in our lives simply by moving our body. It's, again, if it's good for your body, it's going to be good for your brain. If it's good for your brain, it's going to be good for your body.
Man. Okay, Sean. We look, we got so many more questions, but Inky came in, and Inky, we're thankful to have you here on the Fight for Your Life free virtual event. Hopefully next time we could do this in person. But Inky, before you came on, we were talking about the last 2 years and how difficult it was. And I think a lot of people may see you guys, may see us like, man, okay, they got to a certain point in their life is fine now. Like, and a lot of people feel as if I get to this certain point in my life, it's there, I'm problem free. Can you just talk about what happened with the car accident that you had with your son last year, and how that changed your perspective, how that changed, just your thought process? And if people don't know, can you walk them through, what happened, in that moment?
Absolutely. First and foremost, man, I want to say this has been phenomenal, man. I'm a note taker. Like, I got my pen. I've been taking my notes. It's been phenomenal. But, the accident that happened with me and my son, it was something, QDZ, man, to where I thought I had a pretty solid perspective in terms of just on life in general, because of the adversity and the opposition and the road and the journey that I had traveled. And so it was a simple day, right? Beautiful day. Me and my son got up, we went to a workout, and the workout went great. And we're coming home in Atlanta, it's storming, and we're getting off on our exit. And I always tell people, like, cherish and appreciate people, right? Treat people with respect, with dignity, right? Because you never know. In life, I firmly believe you get what you give. And you never know if the person that you've been a blessing to will come back around at a certain point and juncture in your life and be a blessing to you, right? Just treat people with respect and dignity, right? And so me and my son, we're getting off on our exit, and he cracks a joke. and a big 18-wheeler comes up beside us, and it gushes water, right? A lot of water. And we hydroplane, right? It's like a mini hydroplane. And so when we go and we hydroplane, I'm thinking it's going to be a slight shift, and then the truck will probably stop, right? On my side, it looks like I'm freezing. Am I freezing, QDs, or am I solid
Oh no, you're good. Oh, no, you're
in terms
solid.
of my screen? I'm solid?
Yep.
All
You're
right.
solid. Mhm.
And so we do a slight shift. And the truck keeps spinning, right? And when it keeps spinning, I'm like, man, like, God, no, like, I know this is not that, right? Because we're on a ramp. And so we're spinning toward the retainer wall. And so I look at my son, and my son says to me, Dad, I feel like we're about to die. And something in my spirit said, Ink, let go of the wheel. But we're on a ramp, QDZ. So if I let go of the wheel and I hit this retainer wall, like, we're going to have a nice fall, right? Like, it's not like we're going to hit the retainer wall and stop. I'm thinking my truck is taller than the retainer wall. And so we hit the retainer wall quite naturally. We're going to flip into oncoming traffic, right? But something in my spirit was saying, let go of the wheel, right? I knew it was the creator, right? But I drive with one hand. I got a paralyzed right arm and hand, as y'all know. I drive with one hand. So I felt as if this was my only source of control. And so the spirit saying, let go of the wheel. I'm like, God, like, I hear you, but this is the only control I got right now. And my little man over here, like, I got to try to control it. But I still didn't have any control, right? Figment of my imagination. I thought I was controlling it, but I still didn't have any control. Truck spinning, right? I let go of the wheel, QDZ. It hits the retainer wall. When I let go of the wheel, I just grabbed my son's chest. When we hit the retainer wall, we flip in the opposite direction, right? We flip, and we land upright. We get out of the truck. It's storming. I get my son out of the truck. I'm making sure he's good, right? Cars are passing us by, right? A car stops, QDs, after I call my wife. A car stopped. Window rolls down. A gentleman says, hey, Ink, you good? Now, to my recollection, I've never seen him a day in my life. To my recollection, Jay. To my recollection, Sean, I've never seen him a day in my life, right? Ink, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. He was like, I'm going to pull over real quick so you and your son can get in my back seat, get out of the rain. I'm like, man, that's nice of my man. He pulls over, we go up, we get in the car. As soon as we sit in the car, my son says, Dad, your arm is bleeding. I tell my man, I say, hey, man, I'm going to step out of the car. I'm bleeding. I don't want this blood to be in your car. If you don't mind, can my son stay in the car? My wife is on the way. He was like, no problem. My man gets out. And he says to me, you don't remember me, do you? I was like, nah, I can't say that I do. And to be honest, Q, I wasn't trying to remember him. I was trying to wrap my mind around what had just happened. I'm like, bro, we just flipped. Like, I ain't never flipped over in the car, Jay. Like, I ain't never flipped, right? Like, I'm shell shocked. This traumatic experience, right? And my man says it to me again, like, you don't remember me, huh? I'm like, nah, I can't say that I do. He whips out his phone. He puts it in my face, right? It was a picture of me and him. I was like, wow. He was like, yeah, man, like 2020 was the roughest year of my life. He was like, and I saw you in the airport, bro. And he said, I was going through it. And I had walked past you. I saw you on your phone looking at a video. And I was like, nah, I ain't going to bother him. And he said, I stopped. And he said, you was gracious. You was nice. You took a picture with me, man. Like, you was good to me. And he said, when I left, I said, God, please let me cross his path again. I just want to be a blessing to him. He said, so when I was getting off the exit and I saw you, he said, I was saying to myself, like, God, I know that ain't Ink, right? But in my crisis, in my moment of opposition and adversity, I'm looking at my man like, I don't even remember my man, right? And I always share with people, man, like, this past 2 years, it's been tough, it's been challenging, but in the same sense, it's been beautiful, right? Because it shifted our perspective. It's cut out the nonsense, right? And I say to people all the time, it's not punishment, it's preparation. I say to people all the time, don't waste the experience, right? Don't waste the experience. No matter how hard it may be, how challenging it may be, how inconvenient, don't waste the experience, right? Because you never know what it might turn into. You never know what the adversity might turn into. You never know what the challenge might turn into. Feel it, right? Embrace it. Let it break you, right? But don't waste the experience, right? In my time of opposition and adversity, somebody that I was just gracious to a year prior was able to serve as my guardian angel for me and my son, right? That I didn't even remember. But in my moment of opposition and adversity, when he was going through it, the only thing I did was stop. I just gave my man some grace, right? Because a lot of times when we go through pain and we go through opposition, right? If we're not careful, it can make us bitter, right? If we're not careful, it can make us angry. If we're not careful, we can start comparing our lives. And we've heard it, comparison is the thief of joy, right? If we're not careful, it can make us look at people a certain type of way, right? Embrace the adversity and opposition. Feel it as you go through it, but don't allow it to make you bitter. Don't allow it to steal your joy. Don't allow it to steal your happiness. Don't allow it to taint your peace, right? You got to get up and you got to fight for that, right? You got to fight for it every single day. Fight for your peace, man. Fight for your happiness. Fight for your joy. Does that mean it might be easy? No, right? You heard the quote. Courage is not always that voice that's roaring and loud and boisterous. No, sometimes courage is that small voice at the end of the day that say, man, I'm going to get up, I'm going to dust myself off, and I'm going to go back at it tomorrow, right? Fight for your joy, fight for your peace, and fight for your happiness. But that moment changed my life, QDZ. Again,
Man,
I firmly believe moments change our lives. That moment changed my life again, no doubt.
powerful, man. Listen, I've heard you tell this story, online, and then, just reaching out to you. I'm like, man, it was again, to your point, it reminded me of the movie Training Day, right? Like, dude got grace because earlier in that day he helped that young girl who had no idea he was going to, meet her family later on. And if you never watched the movie, go check it out. But man, powerful story, Ink. I appreciate that. Jeremy, man, let's talk, man. There's a lot of people here that are like, they feel like, okay, I hear what y'all saying. I hear I need to drink better. I need to think better. I need to be around community. There's some people in this chat right now that are cynical. They're like, okay, how do I change? Like, okay, I don't believe it can't change for me. It changed for y'all, but it can't change for me. What is your message for those people, Jeremy?
I think if you listen closely to what Ink just shared, that situation, something within him changed. Something within him evolved when he had his accident years ago, this most recent thing. And these things grow us. We've heard it before. Things don't happen to us, they happen for us. We've heard it before. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Like, these are the classic quotes. But if we really put that into our perspective, it really can help us and enhance us. And so when I look at what Inky is saying, if he had never went through that, he wouldn't have this perspective. He wouldn't be where he is today. I caught him. He said something earlier. You think you slick, Inks. Inks was like the blessing of adversity, something like that. You feel me, Sean?
Absolutely.
He was like the blessing.
No doubt.
I often look, it's like the trials, the challenges that we go through. Those are actually blessings. Now I know somebody is probably online thinking like, bro, what? Like, bro, what I'm going through right now, like the pain, the trauma, the turmoil. This is actually a blessing. Just hear me out here. These things that we go through, it strengthens something inside of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you ever look at, somebody that be in the gym, like they're putting their muscles through some pain so that those muscles can grow. So we're just really growing. And so when you look at what Sean was saying earlier, we got to be cautious of our perspective, because if we always take a negative approach to every single thing, or if we only look at the negative, like that can really set us back. So often people talk about, what if the glass is half empty or half full? I hit somebody with that one time. I was literally at a school speaking. I was like, yo, you got to focus on the glass, half full. My man was like, what if the glass is empty? And I said, wow. I said, well, be thankful you got a glass in the first place, because it's only a matter of time before your cup runneth over. Just be grateful you got a glass. Yeah. It's only a matter of time. Your condition is not your conclusion. I say it all the time. So that perspective. And so I think what's going to help a lot of us reduce that anxiety, reduce that depression, reduce some of the challenges that we're having internally, is when we say, let me not look at the situation and say, this is happening to me, this is happening for me. Because I believe weeping happens at nighttime, but it's only a matter of time before the sun cracks the sky and joy come in the morning. What can I learn from this situation? What can I apply? How can this help me grow? How can I be stronger? How can this help me be more powerful? Like, what areas can I grow from this situation? And so that's what I do with every single challenge that's in my life. I'm dealing with a challenge right now, and I'm looking at this like, yo, God, you really want me to grow. You really want me to be stronger. You really do not want me to be a hypocrite. What do I look like telling other people they can fight through adversity if I don't have some recent adversity? So he like, I don't want you giving them old food. I don't want you warming some food up. I want you to give them fresh bread. I want you to give them a fresh meal, a fresh word. So I'm gonna give you a fresh trial so that you can fight through it, so that you can practice what you preach, so that you're not a hypocrite. God loves me so much. He's like, I will not allow you to be a hypocrite. You will always have a thorn in your side. You will always have something you're having to go through. You will always have some type of challenge. And you're going to come to me, and I'm going to give you the strength you need so that you can keep fighting. And so to everybody that's on with us, we're doing this tonight to give you what you need so that you can fight for your life. And all these challenges and tests that we go through, if we change the lens in which we see it, if we change the lens, it helps us shift our perspective. And then we say, you know what? This is not what I expected, but how can I grow from this? And Inky has helped me. Those of y'all that know Inky, his paralyzed arm and hand, like, man, that thing changed my life. Inky, you don't know this, bro, but there were times when I want to complain about something, and God would be like, what? Really? What perspective with Ink? I'm like, yikes. It helped me instantly shift it from what you've gone through, bro. Like, y'all have all, that's why I hit Sean Stevenson, right? That's why I hit all of y'all. Y'all have all helped me grow. So I just believe, man, to everybody that's watching us, if you can just say to yourself, you know what? I don't like this. This is what's going on. This is my reality right now. I can't change it, but I can shift my perspective. How can I grow from this? What can I learn from this? I'm not going to be a victim. I will be a victor. It's only a matter of time. But you can't have that mindset and fight this thing by yourself, which is why we go back. Because some of us, QDZ, the situation we in, we can't change it. That's the reality. There are some people right now on YouTube, and they're wanting us to share something that can change their situation. Some of these things you're going through, we can't change your situation, but we can help change your perspective. We can help change your heart. We can help change your mindset and how you're viewing it. And so now you can see this as not something that's happening to you, but something that's happening for you.
Wow. Listen, I'm gonna start giving now. Y'all, okay, y'all got me hype. All right. I remember I was like 12 years old. I was like, man, I saw Arsenio Hall. I was like, I want to do that. I want to be on TV. I want that right there. Right. And my whole pursuit, my entire life was, I went to college because I was like, I'm gonna get the radio because I'm gonna get the TV. Right. And it was from 12 to about 37. I got the TV. I got my own television show. Right. I got my own television show. 2016, I was on top of the world, and after I did my 100th episode. My 100th episode was February 14, 2017. 6 weeks later, and I'm a fun guy. Like, I was always the happy, fun guy, most fun to be with, class clown in high school, all of that. 2017, after my 100th episode of my television show, my mom passes away from cancer. Right. And now I'm like, darn, how do I deal with this? Because I'm the happy guy, right? I'm leaning on my being funny. I'm leaning on being happy and upbeat. And I just didn't have it. And now, not only did I not have it, I'm trying to fight through and do this in front of everybody. Most people, they can do their job, or they can hide and just do whatever job, but it's not a public job. My job was to make other people happy. And it was hard for me because I had nowhere to turn, or I felt like I had nowhere to turn. And for the first time in my life, I leaned on therapy. And therapy really, really changed things for me. And I would go into the therapist's office, and not because of, I'm a TV personality, but I was embarrassed that I had issues that I had to deal with. So I'm going into the office, I'm hiding, I'm looking down, I'm wearing a hat. And, it took me a couple of times to open up and what, I'm cool, whatever. I want to talk to y'all, and there may be other people out there fighting with, how do I do therapy? Should I do therapy? What is your advice for those people out there?
Well, first thing, I gotta jump in here with this one, man. You know, obviously there's a big stigma around it, but I
Right.
think that we got to be in a safe space right now and say everybody has issues. Everybody's
Yes.
Yes.
crazy. If you
Absolutely.
actually
Talk your
knew
talk.
what was going
Absolutely.
on in everybody else's head, it would trip you out. You know,
Yeah.
schizophrenia, the whole nine. Got all these voices going at it, internal battles all the time. It's a real thing.
No
Now, you
doubt.
know, Ink, Jeremy, everybody said, even E earlier, some version of never letting a crisis go to waste, right?
Mhm.
And this is an important tenet. We're all mirroring the same thing, but the problem is we don't have the tools. How do we not let the crisis go to waste? Like, what do we actually do? What does that mean?
Absolutely.
And this is the difference on what we've had access to versus what other people just are kind of uh, indoctrinated with when they come into the game, when they come into the world. It's not having access. And then we bring on these faulty beliefs where we have to carry everything on our shoulders. And this is especially true in the African American community, whether it's the male or female perspective. And again, coming from what I do, it's not an accident that we're also the people struggling the most with our health. I don't think people really realize this, but man, I got to share this. So, if you look at the statistics, you know, here in the United States, we've got about 250 million of our citizens are overweight or obese right now. All right, it's astronomical. Like we can't even really wrap our mind around this number. But the community that has the highest rate of obesity is African American women, and this is something that nobody's talking about, nobody's doing anything about. My aunties, this is what I just grew up with. Like we're just
Mhm.
in an environment where this is just the normal state of things, where my auntie has diabetes, dying from cancer, whatever the case might be. And there's so much that we can do right now to help to heal our communities. But part of that is our mental health. And so this is the point I'm trying to get to is when we say don't let a crisis go to waste, all of this stuff, these numbers I'm throwing out right now, it was already happening. We've already
Mm.
allowed our society to devolve to the point where 130 million of our citizens have diabetes or type 2 or pre-diabetes right now. 60% of our citizens have some degree of heart disease right now. You know, we got about 50 million citizens have autoimmune conditions. This stuff has just been baking and just increasing every single year. And then COVID happens to help us to bring our attention to it and stop allowing this
Mhm.
stuff just to continue. Because guess who was hit the hardest by COVID? The people
Mm-hmm.
in our community who had pre-existing chronic diseases. This is our call to arms to get our citizens healthier, to get our families healthier, mentally and physically. And so, not having the tools, let me give a really important tool today. Because even with changing our body and our health, it starts with a vision. This isn't some superficial
Absolutely.
thing. All right. I could talk about the reticular cortex in the brain, you know, the reticular activating system. But we have a part of our brain, the human brain is, there's something called instinctive elaboration. And basically, the human mind, through our evolution, we're hardwired to answer questions. The way that our brain works, it's constantly scanning our internal and external environment to answer the questions we pose it. But most of the
Mhm.
time, we're posing our brain useless, repetitive, disempowering questions like,
Mhm.
why
Mm.
me? Why is this happening to me? Why won't somebody help me? And true to form, you know, asking ye shall receive, you're going to find evidence as to why your life ain't working, why you're not healthy, why you're struggling financially. You're just going to affirm the negative because that's what you're looking for. But even myself, my life changed when I was living in Ferguson, Missouri. I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, struggling to finish college, not because it wasn't easy, because the work was easy for me. It was just taking my ass there, going through, trying not to get pulled over, just getting to school, dealing with my poor health issues. But the thing was, when I was struggling with my health in that moment, everything changed when I stopped asking why me and I started to ask, what is it that I can do to get better? I just changed the question.
Mm.
What is it that I can do to feel good right now? Right? Who do I know that can provide a resource or provide some type of guidance that can help me to achieve my goal of being healthy? right? So I started to change the questions that I was asking myself. And it's so crazy because the thing is, the answers are already here. You can't have a question without the solution. It's two sides of the same coin. So the right nutrition, the right movement practices, the right mental state, the resources, the books, all those things, they were already available. I just wasn't attuned to them until I started to ask, what is it that I can do to change? And so what I believe is happening right now with this very, very turbulent time, it's a humanity crisis, not in the form of a virus, not in the form of something that's invisible, but we're talking about an existential issue where we've been depressing our potential, especially us, especially our community, our families. So that vision, if you're upset about how things are right now, what do you want the world to look like? What do you want our community's health to look like? Start to see that. Stop just, of course, we don't want to ignore that there are problems. We can see the problems, but you need to start to get a very clear vision on how do you want this to be. Because here's the thing, and this is true story. I've been contemplating this. Even when Jeremy reached out, I was walking up and down my block thinking about what can I do to help to uplift our communities that are hurting right now. And then I got the message from you. This is true story. You know, of course, I've been kicking it around lately, but I really got clear when I was in my I'm in this mastermind every Monday. It was the week before. And, you know, I expressed it. I was like, this is what I really want to focus on in 2022 is being able, because here's the thing, like I moved from Ferguson, you know, I'm in LA now, you know, we've got, you know, a lack of who's really been hit the hardest. I'm just going to share this with you guys because of lack of access is here in Los Angeles, Black children and Latino children who haven't been able to get on all the Zoom calls, whose parents weren't able to stay home and allow for them to stay up to date with their work. A lot of these kids, we're talking millions of children, are a year at least behind other kids who were able to have access to those resources, to be even, some private schools even stayed open. Okay. So the wealth gap was starting to close a little bit, but now just imagine how things are going to play out over the upcoming years. So last thing I'm going to say here is, man, this has given us an opportunity. So for me, it's just like, I've been working to try to help to create like some kind of a, you know, a government funded health programs. When now I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna raise the capital and I'm gonna get this community center built myself. I'm gonna make sure that the school lunch programs, I'm gonna make sure that these are funded myself. I'm not gonna keep waiting around for this stuff to happen or for them to come and do the right thing. I'm gonna do it because I can. But for us to do that, we have to just start to get clear on what that vision looks like. And then we start to see our capacity. We start to see our relationships with individuals like these who can help to bring their vision to reality. Because even as I'm saying I could do it, it's in parentheses, you know, you're going to need help. But it's going to come from in the form of other people who have the same vision as you, a shared vision. You've heard it, when two or more come together.
Wow. Yo, can I speak to that too, DZ? Man, I for the record, for everybody that's on, man, I've got multiple counselors. All right, so if it's a woman out there or it's a brother out there that might feel a certain type of way about having a counselor, I've got different options for safe spaces to talk to. And I ain't gonna lie, man, I am very, very, very blessed. I've experienced, you know what I'm saying, quite a bit of success in life, but I still need it. So I just want to put it out there for anybody that feels like you're in a dark place, you feel like you're in a weird place. And I got a mental health coach. So I got a counselor, I got two counselors, and I got a mental health coach that says, okay, you need to take some time. You got to do this. You got to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so for anybody that's out there, and there is this stigma, and I don't know where it came from, Sean, you know what I'm saying? But especially when it comes to like, you know, our community, people tend to not want to talk, or you feel like when you go to the barbershop or you kicking it with your friends, like that's it. But there is so much value in finding someone, whether it's a counselor or a therapist, and just really kind of sharing what's going on. The worst thing that you can do is keep it to yourself. That really, truth be told, that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you to be off in the corner. You know what I'm saying? That's where mold grows, in dark, damp corners, right? But when you bring that sickness to the light, mold can't live. You'll never see mold growing when that natural light, that sunlight is hitting. It's not possible. And so I'm really like pleading right now. I feel like I'm finna give an appeal. I am pleading right now. If you are in a dark place, let's just go there, right? If you are contemplating suicide, or you have thought about it, or you feel like you ain't got no other options, or you feel like nobody understands you, or you feel like you can't talk to nobody, for one, that's a lie. There are people that's in your corner. There are people that care about you. There are people that love you. And if you feel like there is nobody that you know personally, there are counselors, there are apps, there is technology, there is help online that you can get to be able to connect with people. And there is nothing wrong with that. And if you don't feel comfortable broadcasting it, okay, cool, right? That's okay. Just make sure you do what you got to do. But if you really want to go to that next level, you might even go to social media. Look how many people you're going to bless. Hey, y'all, I think I'm going to find me a counselor to talk about my thoughts and my feelings. Hey, y'all, I think I'm going to find me a therapist. Hey, y'all, can y'all recommend somebody? Because you don't even know what that's going to do for more people. I got one of my homeboys, Wall Street Trapper, my man killing it. He been on the Breakfast Club, hundreds of thousands of followers, super multi-millionaire. My man started the year off. He was like, yo, I'm experiencing some success, but I need to find me a counselor. I need to find me a therapist to go to a whole nother level. I need some healing to take place. I'm finna find me a wife this year. I said, oh, bro. Next level. I hit my man phone instantly and made a recommendation. I'm telling you all right now, if you really want to go to that next level, man, find that safe space. So I don't know why there's that stigma, QDZ. I guess because the world we live in, everybody Instagramming and Facebook and like everything is perfect. I'm not afraid to tell y'all I got counselors. I'm not afraid to tell y'all that I have therapists. I'm not afraid to tell you I have a mental health coach, because I want to go to the next level. I want to be everything that God has called me to be. And I realize I can't do it on my own, because we're not supposed to be doing it on our own. Sean had already told us that the human is not even wired and designed like that to be isolated. We need to work together. So if you are out there and you find yourself in the dark place, then your next action step after you get done with this right here is to tap into the various resources that's out here in the world.
I want to ask you guys this. I talked about it. Darkest time of my life. Thought I was chasing this one thing my entire life. I get it, and then I lose my mom, right? And then now I'm here in public, and I got to show that I'm not perfect, right? So for you guys, what was the darkest moment of your life, and how did you overcome that dark moment in your life? Inky, starting with you, bro.
Man, quite obviously, my injury was probably the darkest. But I wanted to tap on something that shifted and shaped me just as a man. Like we was just talking about therapy and counseling. And so a few years back, Q, my wife went through something, and it broke me. Like it broke me to the point to where like I came off the road, right? Like my wife was going through something in her life, and she just couldn't shake it, right? And we was praying, and we was trying to get through it, and I was like, man, what is it? Like we went to the emergency room, like it was just on her, right? It was like life was on my wife, right? And I couldn't fight it, right? I couldn't fight it for, I couldn't fix it for. As men, like we want to fix things, right? And I had never felt this type of pain before, right? I had never went through this type of adversity and opposition before, right? I look at adversity and opposition, it's like an onion sometimes, right? When you start peeling it, it's layered, right? And you face different levels of opposition and adversity as you go throughout life, right? Some hit you directly, some hit you indirectly, right? And I was going through something with my wife, and I was feeling a pain that I had never felt before, and I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't control it. I couldn't fix it, right? I couldn't pray it away. Like I couldn't do anything about it, right? And so we're talking through this thing, and I'm like, man, what is this on my wife, right? And so what it was my wife lost her parents when she was young, right? Both of her parents, right? Specifically, she had lost her mother, right? And at the age that she lost her mother when she was a kid, her whole life, her childhood coming up to adulthood, she had this feeling that, man, when I turn the same age that my mother was when she left this world, and our kids turn the age that I was when my mother left this world, I don't want to die, right? it was on her so hard that I'm talking about anxiety, it was on her, right? She just felt like when she turned the age that her mother turned when she was a kid and she left this world, that she was gonna die. And we had 2 kids as well, right? And so I'll never forget, man, like we start seeing a therapist, right? Health coach. And my wife was going and I couldn't fix it. So as a man, I'm like, man, I can't do nothing for my wife. You know, we going to therapy. And one day my wife came out, QDZ, and she had a breakthrough, bro. Like, beautiful. I'm talking about Stella got her groove back, Q. I'm like, praise God. Like, she back. Like, my girl back, right? And I thank God so much because it taught me a level of humility and a level of love and a level of compassion and a level of empathy that I didn't know I possessed as a man, right? And oftentimes when people go through things, dark moments, moments of adversity and opposition, you get you a tribe, right? But if you that person's point person, like if you the point guard in their life and you can't do anything about it, don't sit there and just keep fighting, right? A doctor told me something with one of my loved ones, man, that was going through cancer, right? The doctor said, man, I know you love him. I know you care about him, right? I know you want to fix it. But sometimes it's best to just step back and love on them and just do what they want you to do. Not what you want them to do, but love them and do what they want to do, right? Support them. If they want to go get help in therapy and a counselor, support them, right? Be compassionate. Have a level of empathy. And so that moment for me, Q, was probably the toughest moment because it was a pain that I had never felt before and I couldn't do anything about it. And so I had to put my wife in the hands of somebody else and had to have the faith that God would still take care of her and bless her. And she came through it in a beautiful way.
Wow. Wow. Sean, how about you, bro?
Man, that's powerful. And it reminds me of something E said earlier. And of course, I'll hit on that. But when he was talking about just listening to Didi, you know, sometimes just just shutting up and just listen. And I had a great mentor, which, you know, coming from where I come from, you didn't like intentionally have a mentor. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the guys I looked up to, and this is true story. I lived on a block, is the Grape Street Crips. All right. So I'm wearing purple to school. I got a picture of my 8th grade graduation. I'm wearing a purple suit, just trying to like ride with my guys, like just these guys that I looked up to. But my mom had this kind of agreement with them, you know what I'm saying? Just like, just keep my son out of it. You know what I'm saying? He come, you know, he can go to a party, whatever, just, and, you know, so fortunately, my mom is still to this day, she on some whole other level, but that's a whole other story. But my point being that, you know, eventually when I really started to see myself as having the opportunity to not replay the environment that I came from and to be an intentional father and husband and a leader in this health space to help to get people out of the situation that I was in, then I need to intentionally seek people who've done the thing and to be a mentor for me. And so one of my mentors, he started off as my client. All right. So this is when I was running my practice as a nutritionist. And I was still the strength and conditioning coach at a university as well for a while. But it was this Jewish guy, and he was like 80 years old. And he had built this, he was like an architect. He built this incredible multi-million-dollar business, but he was just so low key. He was just really smooth and really cool. And he had this wonderful relationship. But prior to that, his wife passed away about maybe 20 years earlier. And so they were relatively young still, and they had 3 kids when he lost his first wife. And even when he talked about it, like he was madly in love with her. But now he's just recently remarried, and his new wife, Susan, she was amazing as well. And he shared something with me. And what he did was he read a lot to try to figure out, how the hell do I talk to this woman? How do I keep her happy? And also his daughter was the oldest. She was a teenager, and they was going through it. And he was like, Sean, I can solve all of your marital problems years in advance before anything even happens. You can even proactively say these words and ask the question to your wife when she's upset. Do you want me to just listen? Do you want me to help you to work through this? Or do you want me to fix it? Right? Do you want me to just listen? Do you want me to help you to work through it? or do you want me to fix it? And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at this because I just messed this up like 2 weeks ago. All right. My wife wanted me to just listen. But you guys know men tend to be fixers. We tend to be problem solvers. Like, okay, you know, but nah, that wasn't what she was on, you know. And eventually, of course, I got tapped in. I remembered this wonderful stoic advice from my guy, Ken Balk. And, you know, even just one little parallel, another thing to throw out here about Ken, he has 100-year plan. My man had 100-year plan. He had his life, his goals mapped out for things to be in accordance financially, his health, for him to live to 100 years. You know, it's that kind of vision. And so I've seen it, you know. So, but to circle back, and we can employ this with anybody still, you know, again, we need each other. And I tend to have more of that lone wolf complex where really I'll be like, I could save the world, I could do it myself. But there's a point where that could kill you. You're out here trying to save people's lives and then you die trying to save the world. Like what sense does that make? You know? So it's when I start to open myself up to being around other really great people as well. So, but for me, I'll make it really short. Because I already hit on a little bit, you know, I was 20 years old. I got diagnosed with this so-called incurable spinal condition. And, you know, I was an aspiring athlete. I ran a 4.5 40. Everything was looking fantastic. And all of a sudden my body just started breaking down. And essentially it wasn't until, and this was the first incident was at track practice doing a 200-meter time trial. I broke my hip from running. And so fast forward, come to find out I had this advanced arthritic condition. And I was a baby, like I was a kid still. There's no way I should have this advanced aging condition. And this is just, again, an environment that I was in. I was just inundated. I was making my body out of the worst quality stuff you can imagine. You know, like, of course, we were on food stamps. We had the food pantry we would get food from, you know, basically, you know, them providing handouts and things of that nature. The Hosea house was where we get our food from. And so I'm making my body out of really low quality stuff. And to the degree that my body was breaking down. And so this was my low point. You know, I'm trying to break the pattern in my family's history. I'm trying to finish college. I'm trying to make something of my life. But man, like losing my ability to walk normally and just to get around, man, it was tough, you know. And of course, again, being in the environment that I was in, just literally feeding the problem. And I'm not joking, guys. I ate fast food every day, almost every meal, because it's all that was around me. In Ferguson, on my block, as soon as I walk out of my apartment complex, it's a liquor store. Then it's Lee's Fried Chicken, Domino's, Papa John, Taco Bell, Dairy Queen, Chinese food. But it's not like I'm in LA. It's a nice Chinese restaurant out here people go to. It's not like that. It's like bulletproof glass, you know, like I don't know what they doing.
Styrofoam.
I don't know what they doing.
Yeah.
You get a whole order of fried rice for like $3. All right.
But
So
listen.
That's just that one little spot. You know what I'm saying? So every day, this is what I'm making my tissues out of. So fast forward, everything changed. It took 2 years. For some people, it never happens. For some people, it might happen faster. But 2 years after that diagnosis, when I was going every day, just like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why won't somebody help me? I kept on replay asking these very disempowering questions. And when I asked, what can I do myself to get better, which I had never done. And and this is the thing, regardless of who we see ourselves being, when certain conditions hit you, you might act very out of character. Because for me, I was always somebody who was very like independent, a problem solver. But I think I was tired, you know, like Jeremy was alluding to. And when we get tired, sometimes we might lay down our arms. You know, we might take our armor off and just like sit on the sideline, you know, and that's really how I felt. Like there's so much struggle happening in my life. I was probably just tired. And they gave me permission to not do anything. These doctors are saying there's nothing you can do. It's incurable. Oh, okay. All right, I'm done then. You know, I'm going to just play it safe. I'm going to just, you know, have an easy life. And nobody's going to blame me because I have this incurable condition, so-called incurable condition. And so again, it took 2 years, I gained a tremendous amount of weight eating like that, and now I'm not working out or doing anything. So I was extra fluffy. But when I changed the questions, this habitual question, and I started to change what I was putting into my body. And this is my last point I want to share with you guys too, is that when it comes to our mental wellness, I alluded to this a little bit earlier on the domain of fitness, right? Being able to move and to start to literally just produce all these feel-good neurotransmitters and hormones. But a big reason that we struggle so much in our community to have compassion, to have empathy, to have introspection, all of that takes energy. It takes energy for me to put myself in your shoes. It takes energy for me to stop going on about all the problems and talking shit and just to look within and to be still. It takes energy for me to ask that empowering question. So if we're just going to talk on a level of a calorie, for example, that's a metric of energy. Your body requires energy to do these higher level things. So when your energy is getting siphoned, when your body's just trying to keep you alive because of the disease or the dis-ease or the conditions in your body that's siphoning and pulling your energy. Like, for example, when I mentioned 250 million of our citizens are overweight or obese, that's a chronic level of inflammation. Our fat cells, when they get packed with so much energy, they literally start sending out a false distress signal that heightens our inflammation in our bodies. So your body's constantly siphoning energy to try to put this fire out. And here you are like, you know what? I really need to find a lesson in this. I really need to make sure that I don't let this crisis go to waste. Your body don't care nothing about that. It's trying to keep you alive. So in order for us to increase our energy, to be able to have the energy to function in this way, to really reach our potential, we've got to do things just a basic level of foundational health, right? So we're not gonna, of course, have a whole talk here tonight about nutrition, but just a really simple tenet. I was eating fast food every day. I'm not even taking fast food away from you. All I'm going to implore you to do is to eat real food as often as you can. That's it. Eat real food. Things that actually you can recognize where they came from. That's it. All right. Because when I was getting up eating my Apple Jacks, what the hell, if I was just to see an Apple Jack in nature, I would have no idea where Apple Jack came from. You know what I'm saying? There's no Apple Jack bush. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's so far from where it actually came from that it's lost its essence of life. You feel me? So simply making it a mandate to just eat real food more often, make your body out of high quality things, give your body, your cells, that real nutrition, that energy, so that you can start to think the thoughts that you want to think. Now, last little part, it's not that we can't be compassionate and introspective and passionate when we're not healthy. It's just harder. It's harder. It's more difficult to even maintain that wattage. You go to an event, with Inky or Jeremy or E, and you get charged up, your whole building, because you can't handle that wattage, you just short out. You think you're about to do all this stuff, you end up just going home taking a nap. You know what I'm saying? Binging on Netflix for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to hold that wattage, when you get charged up. And for that, it's that foundational piece of, making our bodies and our brain cells out of real food, because we get to choose what we're making ourselves out of.
Listen, Jeremy, I'm coming to LA soon. We got to go out to eat on me. I gotta get some of these pounds off, man. Like, come on, say something to me. I'm saying, I'm coming to LA. Come on, we're gonna get
Let's
get
go.
together.
I got you, man. Let's do it.
All right, I'm just I gotta hear you. I gotta have the head of the church say amen. Jeremy, listen, man. I know we're about to wrap this up, but again, with you started this for us. Just talk about one of your darkest moment, how you overcame that darkest moment. We've all talked about it. We've all been clear. There's a lot of people out there that need help. That's why they're here. Please, can you just elaborate?
Yeah, I would probably say 2 times. There was a time in my life when I wasn't speaking and writing books and living a life of purpose. I lived a different lifestyle, and I ended up losing like everything I had. Nothing was working out. lost all my money. Dope Connect got tied up. Everything was just depleted, and just felt like just the ultimate failure. Just felt like in such a dark place. Just had some really dark thoughts. Wasn't really sure, how to bounce back. And and when you thought about, saying different ways to quit and surrender. And for me, at that time, as opposed to quitting on life, for me personally, that was a time when I said, you know what, I tried it my way, let me try Yahweh's. And that's when I really gave my life to God. Cause I was in a dark place, man. I'm ashamed to even share with y'all some of the different things I was thinking to bounce back, or different ways to just wrap it up and quit. And so I bounced back, and that's how I got out of that dark spot. Another dark season I would say I was in, man, is with my wife. My wife, within like a year and a few months, she lost her mom, her dad, her aunt, and her grandmother. And she already comes from a small, tight knit family. And so to lose four people within like 15 months was a big blow. Then you pair that with, a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, endometriosis, adenomyosis. We lost two babies. Like, man, it's like our whole world was crashing. And I'm trying to travel and motivate and inspire others, but then come home and would just feel empty. And my girl's in the dark place, like Inky, bro. Like what you was sharing, I feel where you was coming from, and you just felt so stuck. And because me and my wife are so tight and we are so one, even though we are so opposites, I gotta say that, Jack, you feel me? But we are still, I'm so in tune with my girl, like how it affected her, it also affected me. And I just felt like there was literally nothing I could do, and that was a really, really, really dark season of my life and of our lives. And we're on the other side now. And I probably feel like that's why I'm so optimistic. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, that's why I'm so passionate about hang in there, because they don't last forever. I think E said it. I think it was E. He said tough times don't last always, but tough people do. I think it was E that said that it was some fire. He'd be dropping that fire all the time, right? And I remember thinking, like, man, if we could just hang in here, if we could just not quit, and now we are on the other side. Her health is getting better. Sean, I know exactly what you're saying, bro. You know what I'm saying? We sent my wife real quick to a clinic, you know what I'm saying, called Wildwood. And we went from eating all sorts of meat till she went straight plant-based. And it healed her. Within 10 days, she cleaned up her diet, her mind, her thinking. You know what I'm saying? We was talking here recently a few days ago. My wife was like, my body feels weird. I'm like, maybe we did look at our diet. Maybe it's something we eating. So Sean, we got to get back on that sleep smarter book, because I feel like it's some things that we might be eating now, you know what I'm saying? Because we're on the other side. But with all that being said, that was a dark space. And now we're on the other side now. So there are so many different journeys through our life. When I talk about like dark, I feel like I'm talking about like I'm trying to put on, I'm trying to be positive, I'm trying to be optimistic, but I feel like my whole world is crashing around me. Nothing's not working, money's tight, gigs not coming in. Like we were in a really dark place. And I'm thinking, like, yo, God, where you at? Like, where you at? And he's like, I'm here. I've always been here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I got your back. Just hang in here. If you can just be strong enough, long enough, you're gonna get that breakthrough. Then you're gonna have a sound other people don't have. You're gonna sing a song other people can't sing. You're gonna stand on some stages that other people can't stand on. You're gonna be able to testify some things that other people can't testify. If you can just be strong enough, long enough, you're gonna get that breakthrough. And I'm telling y'all, man, I'm experiencing and living that today. So those were two critical moments in my life, man, when what I'm saying, when I just felt like nothing was going to change. It can't get no worse than this. But here we are, what I'm saying, resilient, and we didn't quit. We didn't give up.
Listen, man,
Mm.
I'm just Jeremy. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Inky. Thank you, Et. Being vulnerable, being truthful. I know there's a lot of people out here that we will never meet that we have helped today. If you could just let us know, Jeremy, or just if people are out there right now and they're like, man, I know that was an hour and a half, but I need more. What, like, how can they connect with each and every one of you? Jeremy, starting with you.
Yeah. So I will say two things. For one, and that was a question for the people, like what they need. But I would also ask, because when we get done with this, you should be able to go into YouTube, and you should be able to share this link. It's right here on my channel. So when this ends, you all should be able to share this, man. If you got a group chat, if you got some friends you went to school with, I got some of my partners, that I went to the college with, some of them I grew up with when we were younger, that's on, like, share this with people. That's the first thing I will share. Our social media information is right here. Send us some messages, however we can connect with you. And if you need help, there are a lot of different apps that's out here. If you Google free counseling, if you Google app for counseling, if you Google local therapists, like, there are so many different resources where you can tap in with someone virtually. And so that would be my call to action, is to get the necessary help you need. But what you cannot do is keep it to yourself. What you cannot do is stay in that dark place. What you cannot do is just focus on what's not working out for you. You'll be surprised how far you'll go in life and how differently you feel when you start making a list of everything that is working out for you. Bro, let me tell you something. Me and my wife came very, very close to a divorce. She got to a point she was like, "Look, homeboy, I can't do nothing else for you. I'm sorry. I can't do what you, I can't do it." And I was just thinking, like, man, I need to figure something out. But I was just stuck on, like, these few little things. Like, if I could just fix this, she'd be perfect. And God was like, "Negro, how about you focus on the 87 things that makes her amazing, that makes her beautiful, that makes her epic? You focus on these little small things." He was like, "Bro, you got major issues too. What you think you perfect?" So I began to focus on all those other things. And again, it shifted our perspective. So I know one thing Sean didn't share, and I'm gonna go ahead and share it now. Some of y'all gonna go to a whole new level when you cut the news off, because you watching CNN, you watching MSNBC, you watching Fox News, and they pushing that fear, and they pushing that fear, and they pushing that. And you better cut that local ABC, cut that local NBC, cut that local Fox News off, that local station that's talking about how many people got shot and all these different issues and who got kidnapped. And nobody got time for that. You got to protect your peace in this season. I done had to cut some people off. I got one family member. If she's watching this right now, I pray for you every single day. And I can't wait to have a conversation and connect back with you. But I'm in a place now where I got to protect my peace. If you toxic and you need healing, yo, go get healed. I'm going to pray for you, but it's obvious I can't do nothing for you right now. I got to protect my peace. Every single one of you watching this, I'm imagining you are an adult. You have a responsibility now to protect your peace, because your family needs the best version of you. Your husband, your wife needs the best version. Your kids, the community, the world needs the best version of you. I really believe every single one of you watching right now, because ain't none of us perfect. We haven't seen the best version of you yet. And we need the best version of you. That app, that technology that you're going to create, you know what I'm saying? That food kitchen that you're going to start, that nonprofit, that piece of technology, that counseling, that book that you're going to write, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need the best version of you, but you have the responsibility to fight for your life. We've given you some tools. You have the responsibility now to say, okay, what is it that I can do to make sure that I'm in the best place? What is it that I can do to put myself in the best position? What is it that I can do to protect my peace? What is it that I can do to take care of my mental health? What is it that I can do to put my face oxygen mask on? Then I help the person next to me. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So cut the news off. If you're in a circle of friends and it might be toxic, it might be rancid, it might be crazy, and it's not really helping you grow, man, change that. Don't listen to me. If you've been doing something in 2020 and 2021 and you're doing the same thing in 2022, you're going to get the same thing you've been getting the last few years. But if you want something different, you got to be willing to do something different. This is the year of you. This is the year where you value yourself. This is the year where you hold yourself accountable. This is the year where you say, you know what, I'm going to do what's best for me so I can be the best version of me I can be. This is the year I believe you should go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to surrender to the Creator, because He really knew had a plan for me when I was inside my mama's belly. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that's what's going to help you go to the next level. And then you got to go all in. I'm going to give y'all this one last thing, QDZ. My bad, bro. Let me just share this with you here. I realized in 2021, around December, I started seeing all these people post on Instagram, right? And they were posting on Instagram, 2020, you gonna be my year. 2020, you gonna be my year. And they was like manifesting. Everybody talking about manifesting. They was manifesting all the things that they want to get and all the things that they want to receive. And I'm scrolling and I'm looking at the post and I'm like, ooh, go get it. I'm excited for people. And one morning, God told me, He said, son, give my children a word. They're asking to receive some things, but many of them will not receive until they release. I don't know who that is for, but some of you are, there's some things you got to release so that you can receive. He wants to give you some blessings. He got some great things in store for you. You're going to get that breakthrough, but you might have to release that negative mindset. You might have to release some of that toxicity you put in your body, whether it's pollutants or it's food. You might have to release some of that negative stuff that you're watching. You might have to release some, not might have to, you got to release some of those addictions. You might have to release some of the surroundings that you're around. You might have to release, you know what I'm saying, that negative mindset and adopt a different type of perspective so that you can receive everything that you're supposed to receive. And so there are resources online, you know what I'm saying? But we've given you a lot of things that you can do. We've given you a lot of different things that you can put in place today. It's going to take your life to a whole nother level.
Man, Inky, any last words, brother?
Man, just realize that it's okay to not be okay. And most importantly, when you can't control what's happening, control how you respond to it. That's where your power is. It's okay to not be okay. When you can't control what's happening, control how you respond to it. That's where your power is.
Come
Man,
on.
powerful. Sean, any last words, bro?
Yes, sir. Something simple. Change your dominant question. Again, this is something that the human brain, we're wired up to do this. So this time right now that we're all experiencing, ask yourself, what is this time trying to teach me? Right? What is this time trying to teach me? What gifts are wanting to emerge in my life as a result of going through this pandemic? What talents, what capacities have been dormant within me that are going to be helpful once they emerge for me to overcome whatever I'm dealing with right now? What is the gift in this time for me? So shift and ask yourself that question. And again, because I'm here, what makes it a lot easier is stacking conditions in your favor. And all the stuff we've been talking about today, guys, the way that we feel, the way that we think, all of that is based on chemistry in your body. Even if we're talking about serotonin, this feel-good neurotransmitter, it's literally made from the food that you eat. You get to decide what you're making your hormones and neurotransmitters out of. And if you're deficient on those things to make these things, you're going to be deficient in your capacity to think the thoughts that you want to think. The human body is resilient. We're all resilient and amazing. But don't make it harder than it has to be. Stack conditions in your favor. Get yourself a little bit healthier. Start literally taking some steps literally each day. Make it a mandate. If we tied that message to all the fear that we've been inundated with, that according to Appalachian State University, just going for a short 20-minute walk immediately boosts your immune parameters, your natural killer cells, your neutrophils, the immune system weapons that are most noted to kill SARS-CoV-2 infected cells. All right. If we tied that to the fear that people have had, hey, America, we're facing a crisis right now. Make sure that you get your 20-minute walk each day. Your immune system requires it. All right. Kaiser Permanente is pretty close to my house. They did a massive study, about 50,000 COVID-19 patients. They found that folks who regularly exercise were 2.5 times less likely to die from this condition. Right. So this isn't a joke. This is something that you don't need a membership to do. You don't need somebody's permission. Use your amazing body. It's a gift. It's a vessel. You only get one. Every day, make it a mandate. Just get that 20-minute walk in. You can make it rewarding. Jeremy mentioned you can do it with your team. E, a lot of times when I'm talking to E, he's walking around. At first it's just like, man, what? Because it's all rustling. He's got the rustling when he's, moving around. But when E gets on a call, he gets to move it. So this is a time to connect. My youngest son and I, it's a time that we talk. We just go for a walk. So build it into your family matrix this year, a little bit more health, a little bit more connectivity, and we're going to find a way through this.
Man, beautiful. Listen, Ink, Sean, ET, we thank you guys for being here. Jeremy, thank you for putting this together, bro. I know we're about to wrap up, but I know you want to take us out with prayer, bro.
Yeah. And QDZ, man, thank you for coming on and hosting and moderating. Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah.
Same with you,
All love.
Sean and E, who's watching now. I appreciate you all for taking the time, out of your evening away from your family to be on with us for free. You know what I'm saying? You all could have taxed, you know what I'm saying, top dollar for this, but you all came on and volunteered your time because we just wanted to be a blessing. So thank you guys for that. And for everybody that's on, like, man, y'all could have been, you know what I'm saying, watching something else. Y'all could have been watching something on TV, but you really tapped in for this right here. So that really says a lot about you. And that lets me know you got a whole lot of fight inside you. So now, if you don't mind, man, I'm gonna pray, that the ultimate warrior will continue to fight for you as well. Man, God, I'm so grateful for my brothers Inky and Sean and E and Quincy. Grateful for Shaquan on the back end. That's been kind of handling everything on the tech side, and everybody that was a part of this event. So grateful for them. Grateful for everybody that's on. And my prayer is simply this, God. That whatever they need to do today, whatever they got to do tonight, tomorrow, the very next action step, make it crystal clear. They got so much information tonight. I pray, God, that you'll make it crystal clear for them. What is the next thing to do? Is it to change the diet, their perspective, their environment, what they're consuming, what they're watching, what they're putting in their bodies? Like, what is the very next thing? Is to get a counselor? What type of counselor? What type of therapist? Is it through the app? Is it someone online? Is it in person? Just make it crystal clear what it is that you will have for them to do next, God. And then I pray that they will do it and do it at a high level, and may they do it consistently. I speak this over everybody's life, God, that they shall live and not die in the name of Jesus. And I'm believing that it's only a matter of time before things get better. And I'm believing for many of them, it's going to get better instantly when they begin to shift their perspective. So they may take a moment and just be grateful, like, man, I don't have a whole bunch of designer shoes, but I actually got feet that I can walk with. All right, I might not have feet, but I'm in a wheelchair and I got some arms that I can move it with. I might not have the arms I can move it with, but I can talk, I can communicate, I can see, I can breathe. I'm not in the hospital. Or if I am in the hospital, I'm not going to be here forever. It's only temporary. I got people that's visiting me, people that's able to feed me. Like, may we focus on those things that are working for us and not those few things that's not working for us. And we believe, God, that you're going to continue to work on our behalf and advocate for us. So I pray, God, that you'll give us the strength that we need to keep fighting. I pray, Lord, that when we hear that negative voice that tells us it's not going to get better, may we know it's only two voices we hear, and it's either your voice or it's the voice of the enemy. When we hear that negative voice that says, why don't you give up? When we hear that negative voice that says, you're so stupid, nobody cares about you, nobody loves you, nothing ever's going to work out, you never get a break, it wins, everybody else wins, but you never win. May they know, God, that that's not your voice, but it's your voice that's saying to keep going. It's your voice that's saying to keep fighting. It's your voice that's saying hang in there. It's your voice that's saying that things are going to get better. And I pray that they will believe and listen to your voice. And I pray that it's only a matter of time before your voice and those things that you're speaking over their lives and those things that they're believing comes into fruition. So bless them, keep them, strengthen them, and take us all, God, to that next level. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Much love. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
I tell you, man, Jeremy, again, thank you for having us, man. Thank you for putting this together, man. I know we changed some people's lives today.